So I've talked extensively about retinoids over the last few weeks, but it does seem like there's an insatiable appetite for knowledge and for advice around how to use them safely, how to escalate the dose, how to go from using one to another. So today's video is my top 5 hacks for using a retinoid, and there are many, but these are the ones that I go to day in, day out when I'm seeing patients or sharing advice on social media. So I wanted to share them with you too. So the first one is to strip everything else out. So if you're starting off with a retinoid, the last thing you want to do is to add it into a routine where you already have 2 or 3 actives on the go that you're maybe not even using consistently, because what this does is it creates noise. You will not be in tune with how your skin is reacting to the retinoid because you have these other elements going on that might, together with the retinoid, be irritating your skin. It might not be the retinoid if you were using it alone. So strip everything else out so that all you're using alongside your retinoid is a supportive cleanser, moisturizer, and SPF like Perfected Basics. Then you can really see what changes are happening with your skin. There's plenty of time in the future for building in extra active ingredients, but given that retinoids are the gold standard of treating premature aging and acne, give them your undivided attention. The next step is to choose your starter retinoid wisely. Now, if you're working with a doctor, that's fine. You might go straight in with a prescription retinoid, particularly if you're trying to solve a problem like melasma or acne. But if you're doing it alone and we're talking over the counter, be conservative. Look at molecules like retinol, and there is a strength spectrum from 0.1 to 1% and above. I would definitely err at the lower end. Something like 0.3% makes sense when it comes to retinol. Look at retinal, which is retinaldehyde, which is one step closer than retinol to retinoic acid, which is essentially the active molecule in the skin. The closer you are to retinoic acid, potentially the more potent the ingredient. So retinaldehyde comes at lower percentages. So we're looking at 0.01% up to 0.1%. That's because there's an order of magnitude different because of that conversion factor. I would tend to go with 0.05% unless you have unusually sensitive skin with retinaldehyde. I find that to be generally a very well tolerated molecule. And if that's not going to work for you, then think about Granactive Retinoid, which is my favorite of the non-prescription retinoids because it's already active when it goes into the skin. No conversion is required. And I would highly recommend starting at 2%, which is in both Flawless Nightly Serum and Flawless Nightly Eye. It's well tolerated but highly efficacious. Now, you've got your retinoid. The next step I want to share with you that's probably my most important hack is buffering. Now, this is something I wish I'd known when I was seeing patients in the hospital setting, however many years ago that was now. But buffering makes all the difference to the tolerability of potentially very active and irritating skincare ingredients like retinoids, even like azelaic acid and benzoyl peroxide. So buffering simply means applying a layer of bland moisturizer to your skin before you apply your active. So in a way, it's diluting the potency, but at the same time, it's protecting your skin barrier. So it's reducing the chance of irritation from happening. Now, that simple trick has changed the game as far as using things like tretinoin and prescription-grade hydroquinone in my private practice. And I think if you're nervous at all about starting using active ingredients, feel free to buffer. I guarantee you will experience less irritation and potential ups and downs with your skin. Feel free to use something richer than you might usually use for a day. A lot of people choose moisturizers based on their tendency to be anxious about feeling a bit oily in the day because lots of people have combination skin. As many as 60% of us have combination skin. At nighttime, we care much less about looking dewy. So do go for something richer and be safe in the knowledge that's not going to stop your active from working. And do choose something non-comedogenic. We don't want to be applying retinoid on the one hand and then using something pore clogging on the other. The next hack I have for you is about protecting the sensitive areas. I cannot emphasize this enough. The most common complaint patients have from me when they have gone in using their retinoids and they've been a little bit carefree, perhaps not appreciating the potency of what they're dealing with, is a red puffy eyelid. And that usually comes about because they've accidentally swiped their eye when they've been applying their retinoid to the areas around the eye area. So they tend not to apply it directly, but it accidentally gets swiped across. The way to safeguard against this happening is to prepare by moisturizing generously. So again, you're kind of buffering by putting lots of moisturizer here. Also, respect the lips. Lip balm first, please. And think about protecting the neck if you know that your neck tends to behave a bit more sensitively, as it does for most of us. So eye area, neck, lips, and be conscious of any folds or creases, like for example, beside the nose, or if you have marionette lines, areas where product might tend to accumulate. It only takes a tiny amount extra to sit on the skin to cause redness and irritation, so be forewarned and forearmed. My final hack for you is to dose it. I have to reinforce that even with my more experienced patients. And we sometimes bob up and down with the different strengths of tretinoin because, of course, if you use a lower strength, you can afford to be a little bit more relaxed. But when you get to the higher strengths, and this also applies to the non-prescription space, you want to be super accurate and careful about your dosing, because if you use an excess amount, more than your barrier can absorb, it will sit on the surface and potentially cause irritation. So when it comes to dosing, please use no more than a pea-sized amount, or if it's easier, think about a fingertip unit, which is a line from the crease to the end of your fingertip, and use half that amount, so half a fingertip unit. You do not need any more than that. You'll look at it and you'll go, how is that going to work? But if you use the 13 dot technique, I promise you it will go far enough. What I don't want is for you to have excess on your fingertips at the end. So 13 dots, pea-sized amount. It's okay if you run out towards the end. Do the forehead first, then 3 on the cheeks, each side, that's up to 9, then 2 and 2. At the beginning, it's okay to use a tiny amount on the lower face. This does tend to be an area that's prone to getting drier, just because as that thicker skin thins out towards the mouth, there is a tendency for that to become a little bit dry because we talk, we eat, and the skin naturally moves over the course of the day. But use that tiny amount, massage it in thoroughly, and be sure, as I say, to kind of just avoid any excess sitting on those danger zones that might lead to irritation. So I feel like in this video, I've condensed down an awful lot of information that you'd have to wade through probably quite a few of my previous videos on retinoids to really distill it down to, if you take one video to learn about retinoids and how to minimize the risk of problems with them, this will be it. So hopefully you're feeling confident and fired up and ready to go forward with your retinoid if you're just starting out, or if you're an established user, maybe you just picked up 1 or 2 tips that can help you improve the consistency with your routine. Retinoids is one of my favorite topics, and I love helping you use them to achieve great things. So if you've got any questions about today's video, please drop it in the comments below. And if you like this video, hit subscribe and like so I know. All right, guys, I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.